I am here as a jobbing head teacher, and was asked to talk briefly about my experiences currently and recently in my own school and in the Teaching School Alliance that I am co-chair of locally. So just a little bit of context. I work in a primary school in Tower Hamlets in East London, not far from here. It's currently expanding to a 4-form entry school across 2 sites, and my other major role at the moment is I'm co-chair of a Teaching School Alliance, which I believe works effectively. And in that Teaching School Alliance, we have a nursery school, a secondary school, a nursery school, a special school, 5 secondary schools, and 10 primary schools. And as I say, I think we've established an effective partnership. So without going into detail about data and swamping people with any more facts and figures, we've had quite a lot today. The context that I'm coming from is working in one of the most deprived areas of England at the moment. So, and I also think it's important to mention, not just because Sir Michael's here, but the group of schools that I'm working with have a wide variety of current Ofsted grades, from outstanding through to requires improvement. And I say that because I believe that an Ofsted grading is one of the key determinants of a school's ability to attract and retain good teachers. So recruitment and retention are always key aspects of a head teacher's role, but it's been especially important for me recently as my school's expanded and as I've worked to support other schools where we've identified the recruitment of high quality staff as one of the key issues that the school has faced. And so there's been very distinctive issues that we've dealt with. In my own school, generally speaking, I haven't had many problems recruiting high quality people. My problem, and this has increased significantly recently, has been holding on to them. We do a lot of work in initial teacher training. We train school direct trainees. We coordinate with the Institute of Education a large number of PGCE trainees across the schools in our alliance. And because of my school's reputation, and in part due to the attractiveness of our current Ofsted grade, that's been a good source of high quality recruits to my school. But I found it really quite a different story in terms of holding on to, attracting those people and persuading them to join some of our partner schools. A pattern has emerged in recent times where I've been able to recruit and get these high quality people into their first appointments at my school. We've trained them throughout their NQT year and beyond, and they fitted in well. And they've been prepared to sacrifice some aspects of their quality of life outside of school because of the satisfaction they've had from making a successful start to their teaching career. Several of them start with us by making similar arrangements as they had when they were students, living as cheaply as they can in a room in shared accommodation or occasionally with family members. So you know where I'm going with this. Things change after a little while, when that isn't satisfactory anymore and the attraction of living as a student has worn off. After a few years, they feel they want to settle, they need more space, more independence, and at this stage, they feel their only alternative currently is to move to a different part of the country where it's cheaper to live, or increasingly to move abroad where they feel they can go and work and perhaps bring back the deposit for property to be able to resume their career in a few years' time. Interestingly, I just made a note, before I came here this morning, I wrote 2 references, one for a teacher going to Australia, one for a teacher going to Thailand in September. Fantastic teachers who will be a huge loss to my school. Obvious solutions, and easy to say, difficult to deliver, to this developing problem would be for the government to recognise the conditions that teachers are operating in, especially in high-cost areas, and do something to address these situations so they can afford to live independently and reasonable rented or purchased accommodation. We've gone full circle. When I was starting off as an NQT, I started work in Tower Hamlets initially, and I was able to have key worker accommodation. It made the difference between me being able to start my career here and perhaps having to look elsewhere. I think we're facing a similar situation soon, if not at the moment. The other issue, the difficulty of recruiting schools to schools that are publicly identified as needing greater scrutiny, is far more difficult. In my school, my challenge is to maintain the virtuous cycle. That's a phrase we heard earlier today, but I use it a lot when talking about the situation that I work in. We've created a virtuous cycle in my school by children achieving well. That establishes a reputation for us. We've attracted an outstanding Ofsted grade. We need to maintain and build upon that, and because of those things, people come and look at what we're doing, and I can use that as an advantage. Other schools face a far greater challenge. The challenge of breaking out of the negative cycle that's created by having weaker attainment and the Ofsted grading that follows that weaker attainment that the children are achieving. That leaves, in those schools, we can't argue that teachers are subject to far greater scrutiny and bureaucracy than perhaps they might be in a school such as mine. These schools are increasingly under the threat of radical change, including potential closure, and they feel they have to demonstrate to others how they're responding to current government policy, current Ofsted framework, rather than, as I would prefer, getting on with the job of improving the attainment of the children and the fundamentals and improving the quality of learning and teaching. That cycle is much harder to break out of, and is the biggest single reason in my experience that schools in the challenging circumstances that I am aware of are unable to recruit and crucially retain the best teachers. Those good teachers in those schools, and there are some, quite soon start to think, I don't need this, and very often they move to schools that are perceived as less stressful environments. And this is a key part of that negative cycle. It's extremely difficult to improve the outcomes for children in challenging circumstances without high-quality committed teachers. Obvious, but it needs to be restated. So I don't underestimate the challenges faced by these teachers. In my view, it will not be addressed by closing them down and imposing a sponsoring academy with an off-the-peg solution to school improvement. Schools work best when they have a bespoke solution that takes into account individual local circumstances. If you're really talking about significant school improvement that's long-lasting and fundamental, it needs to come from creative people with the ability to do it hopefully from within the organisation, and not with an off-the-peg solution imposed upon it. The best young teachers we know currently are faced with massive living costs, including having to pay off their student loans. They won't continue to put up with it. I'm seeing signs of it in my school and in partner schools. And, we talked earlier today about the workload teachers in England have and how that compares to other teachers in the study we were talking about this morning. And what I feel is most challenging for us at the moment is that they don't feel that their workload is generated primarily by the needs of the children that they're working with. They feel that their workload is often generated by the current nuance in education policy or responding to the framework that they're going to be inspected in. So they will and they are voting with their feet. So as well as addressing the practical financial issues faced by young teachers that are working in challenging circumstances, I think the single most useful thing that any government could do would be to create an independent, impartial, professional body that could determine education policy and regain the trust of the profession. Education policy is a key determinant of the success of our schools and the children. It's too important to be decided by non-specialists. We've heard a lot today about how education policy has resulted in what appears to us working in it, and perhaps even more to people looking from an external view, a quite muddled and confused picture. We've got a very wide range of circumstances, and we need to find a way through it. And that needs to be done by a credible group who've got independent credibility. So education is too important to be run by anybody who has a personal or party political agenda. I'm going to stop there.
Thank you.